Good
Well,
morning, Bill.
good morning. We'll see if this is recorded to my computer or to the cloud.
It is, what is today? Thursday. Thursday.
Thursday the 16th, I
It
think.
is Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes, it is all day long. It's a phenomenal day for me, Bill. How about you?
Every day is phenomenal. She asks me this question every day, and I've never had a different answer. Every day, every day is phenomenal. If I ever say it's not, she's probably going to have a heart attack. But and that brings up a good thing. I remember when I first started on personal development, 2 to 3 decades ago, they used to say, how tough, if somebody says, How are you? How hard is it to say how you are? And he says, if you notice, most people just say, doing good, doing great. He says, someday when you're not doing so great, tell them the truth and see and see what they say. I think that was Joe Vitale that said that. And I thought, that's interesting because we are programmed to just say, yep, piece of cake. Everything's good. That's why people ask you questions in master classes and stuff, because they know you're going to stick your thumb up and you're going to go, yeah, you're not going to. But
Be like, well,
I actually tell
actually,
the truth.
well, you know what? I will agree with that statement. For especially when I was going to a 9 to 5. How are you doing today? Good. The next day, how are you doing? Good.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about. That
It's
kind
just
of
you just
grind,
do it.
not to real people.
But right, but the reality was that some days when I was asked how am I doing, I was doing not good at all. I was not feeling good because either and I when I listen, I rarely ever get sick. That's the way it's always been. I don't get sick, and the reason I don't get sick is because I have a healthy body and a healthy mind.
I have never missed a day of work for illness in my life, ever. It's a very
Mm.
surprising. I did it through my whole military career and everything. I mean, I remember one time they pulled out. I had an ingrown toenail. They took out the whole toenail, and they said, you can take the day off, bed rest. I went back and stuck my foot up on the desk. I went back to work. Because I had a streak going. I hadn't missed a day at work.
For a long time, when I was, I guess in my 20s, I can't say I ever missed work, not for me personally. Things changed when I had children, because I was a single mom.
That's a little bit
Um,
different. I
yeah,
never
I
had I
was,
never had my own children. I let my wife do that.
and so I had to take time off, but whenever, which was rarely ever in my entire 48 years of life, I can't remember as an adult, anyways, being sick more than 3 times in the last 30 years that I can think of. Like, and when I get sick, I get sick. So it's like it takes me down, my body's aching. Now, have I taken mental health days because I just didn't want to go to work? I have, but that came later on in life because sometimes I just was not mentally capable of handling whatever was going to happen that day. But school, yeah, I can't even speak. That's a whole nother story. I won't go into school, but
Oh, we
uh,
were we were allowed to play hooky one time in our whole high school. Our mother gave us permission to play
oh,
hooky
okay.
one time, and the time I did it, I felt guilty. Okay,
Even with the permission.
I'm looking around for people. Are they looking for me?
Wow. That's crazy.
Mental programming. I mean, we talk about mindset all the time and we talk about our programming and how that all those things. And they really you can think about different things in your life and you can put it back to how you were programmed by your parents or your teachers or your environment. And that's just an example right there. I was programmed that I could take one day off, but I was also programmed that if you do hooky, play hooky, that it's bad. So I didn't even get to enjoy my one day of hooky that my mother gave me permission to, because I had to keep looking around. This is when they had truant officers, you know. Even though I never saw one, they told us there were truant officers.
Right. That's
So, you
crazy.
know, I'm thinking, you know, everybody around you is looking for you just so they can take you and lock you up, you know. So you're programmed from birth, and some would say before birth.
Very much so. Yeah, that's it just took me back to all the different points in my life uh where that fear-based upbringing was like, yep, we're watching, we always see you. I don't know how it was, because now no, now if a parent says, I know where you're at, I see where you're at all the time. They could be checking your phone, they could be tracking every move you make. When you're home, if they have a camera system, they know whether you walk back in because they have a camera on the back door, the front door, all the windows. You can't sneak back in the house. So that could be true. Now, back in the day, parents would say, I know when you're not where you're supposed to be. I know. Don't ask me how, but I'm telling you, I know. And so somehow you were just super duper extra cautious, except if you were really rebellious, you were like, so what? They know. What are they going to do? I cut school. I wasn't there. I didn't have to. I didn't do it. And that was that. But, you know,
You know, I've come to realize that parents didn't know as much as they said they knew. So, uh, I asked you what you wanted to talk about. I was looking for something on my I'm trying to do two things at once. I don't do that well. Um,
yeah, so yeah, we started on a whole nother topic, but yesterday I did a live because I made a commitment to my coach that I would go live on Facebook for 7 days straight. So yesterday was day three for me, and I was talking about mud. So I was walking on the trail in the latter part of the morning into the early afternoon, and I walked on a part, I got off the trail to go towards where, if you have a boat or a little canoe or whatever, and you can put the canoe in the water. And apparently the water had risen at some point or another on the part that has like ridges so that, there's some traction. And because the water had risen, of course, that brings in the mud or the dirt from the river that's there. And I stepped on it and it looked shiny. So now I wanted to share this. So the mud looked shiny, which indicated that it's mushy or that it's still wet and not hard like clay. And I probably shouldn't walk on it. But my name is Andrea. And sometimes I do things to test the waters. In this case, I tested the mud. Ooh, I almost regretted that in a big, huge, colossal way. And so, as I stepped on it, because I looked at the mud and I was like, I'm good here. I can do this. I stepped on it and I literally almost slipped. And by the grace of the mud gods, I did not fall on my push, which would have been extremely embarrassing because I would have had to walk back 45 minutes with mud butt. Didn't want to do that. So I caught myself and I was like, I shouldn't have done this, but I kept going down because I wanted to be near the water. But there was mud all over my sneakers. When I was walking back up the little ridged part, I noticed that there were spots that I could have stepped on and I could have avoided the mud completely, but I wasn't paying attention because I just wanted to, test the waters, test the mud. And I tell that story because instantly I got a download about how life is sometimes muddy.
yeah.
And sometimes when we step in
I'm
mud,
laughing because as you were telling the story, I'm thinking this is all about life. It's not about mud.
yes, exactly. And so I was like, sometimes life is muddy, and sometimes the mud has poop in it. And it can get really ugly, really messy, really out of control if you're not paying attention. And so I realized that as individuals, when we're experiencing mud in our lives, not hard mud that you can step on easily, but the squishy kind that can actually, and it looked like poop because it was brown. It wasn't red mud. And here in North Carolina, you have that red clay,
Hmm.
and that stains everything and it does not come out no matter what you do.
This was river mud,
This was river mud,
catfish mud.
catfish mud. And so I began to think about how when we are going through life, sometimes we experience muddy situations or we step in mud, and sometimes we get stuck in the mud. Sometimes we slip on the mud and we don't want to get up and we want to stay in it because, well, I'm already down here, so I might as well stay in it because getting up is just either too much work or it's too embarrassing to let others see that I've stepped in it, fell in it, or whatever the situation is. And so the reference to what actually happened to me, a physical experience turned into like a teaching experience, how sometimes in the past, I have literally both figuratively and actually fallen on mud, on dirt, and the outcome was twofold. One, I felt embarrassment, I felt shame, I felt like I should have known better, and I should have been looking, I should have been paying attention, but I wasn't. And the other part was that I had to make a decision when I fell. I either get up and just walk on and do my thing, and maybe people will notice, maybe they won't, but did it really matter? Because I still had to get back to where I came from, or continue on my journey. And so sometimes in life, when we experience those muddy, murky, sticky situations, we have to ask ourselves what we're willing to do to get out of it, and we can wipe the mud off and we can um, clean ourselves up and move forward, or we could just sit in it, wallow in it, talk about everything that's wrong with it, how I got here, and that because I was any number of words, because I was too stupid to notice that I could have gone a different direction or done something different. I'm not good enough. And we start reciting all this negativity in our lives. And we make a choice not to move forward because of our conditioned beliefs, because of what we've been reciting in our minds and saying to others and writing down. And so if you decide that you don't want to stay in the mud of your life, all you have to do is get up, wipe yourself off, and move on.
I feel like there's going to be a Facebook post today about that or a live. I have that feeling you're going to do that. You know what came to my mind, especially when you were talking about that, where there was a couple things. There was the cookie dough in the halving in chapter 17. In fact, I opened up the book just because
Oh,
of that. But the other
that's
one
amazing.
was if you're watching this video, or and not just listening to it, but if you were watching it, you'd see that under Andrea's name, she's got her website, and then she's got speaker, author, transformational life coach. And yet she has a coach. I mean, right at the beginning, she was talking about her coach. We're not, we don't need to go through life. We don't need to go through the mud alone. We can go through it, and if we have coaches, if we have community to support us, it makes it so much easier to go through the mud. And that was the first thing that came to my mind. So she's a coach, and yet she has a coach. And if you ever listen to or read different teachers and thought leaders, almost every one of them has a coach. That, or I mean, they actually talk about it. They all have a
Yes.
coach, but they all talk about it because they know how important it is to have other perspectives, and to have guidance and to just have that connection that
Mhm.
keeps you from talking about how bad the mud was. And then you said, Ah, the mud was all over my shoes. The mud got on my pants. Oh, I bet you there was crap in that mud. Now I stink. And by the time you've gone down the rabbit hole, the
Mhm.
rest of your walk or whatever you were on this morning, a walk, would have been terrible. So really, all she has to do is take a hose and spray off her shoes, and she
Absolutely.
still has shoes.
Absolutely. And so the reference to a physical experience and making the connection through the things that as humans we experience in life, and that sometimes things can get muddy and you can step in muddy situations. All you have to do is acknowledge that this was an opportunity for you to grow and learn something about yourself, because it's never about, I believe, about um, the experience. Well, you've already gone through the experience, or you're going through the experience, but I believe it's about what you gain or learn out of that experience. And if you decide that um, you want to gain something that helps to elevate you, to move you forward, then you will focus on that, and you will give that energy versus giving energy to the negative aspects of the experience. And so sometimes that's what we do, is that we choose to focus on everything that's wrong because you continue to recite the same mental um, audio and
Programming
play, yes, programming, and the same video you're playing over and over. And
without the
so,
awareness that you're saying it over and over, and all you're doing is
correct.
hurting yourself when you do that. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no, that's absolutely right. It's about making sure that you are saying things that are helpful, that are empowering versus disempowering. And I can say from personal experience, as I'm sure many of you watching have done in your past, is that when something went wrong and it really affected you in a negative way, we have a tendency to put energy and focus on that thing, that type of experience. And then for some reason, we continue to experience those same kinds of things throughout the time that we're existing, until one day you're like, well, why is this happening? Why does this keep happening? And then you sit back and you reflect and you're like, oh, well, because I've been doing this same thing since then, and I haven't changed my way of thinking. And also, if you have the support from people, because a lot of us think that we're alone on this journey and we really aren't. But when you have the support from individuals that are genuinely in your corner, that want to help you, and that are trying to come across in a very gentle, loving, kind, but assertive way, and you still choose to go on your path of the same negative paradigms, the same negative thoughts, and the same negative conversations with yourself, with others, writing it down, talking about it repeatedly over and over, you are making a conscious choice to continue on the path where nothing is ever going to work, nothing is ever right, everything is always wrong. And because you've said, the universe responds and says, your wish is my command.
Actually, let me change it a little bit, and then if you want to change it
Please do.
back, you can. If you're writing it down or saying it, and you know that, and you're aware that it's not beneficial to you, that's a conscious choice. If you're just writing it down and saying it and not aware of it, that's habitual. That's your habits, and that's your limiting beliefs and your programming that's in there. And that's why you need to change that programming, or at least, yeah, you change it, not eliminate it, but change that programming. So now it does become a conscious thing, and now you get the opportunity to make a conscious choice. Do I really want to focus on this and this and this, and then that's what I'm going to keep living from day to day? Or would I rather focus on something positive and live that every single day? So, yeah, it's a combination of both subconscious and conscious. If you're not aware of it, it's a bad habitual thoughts, bad habitual programming.
And I agree with you 1,000% on that, Bill. The other thing to that is that, and I will only speak from my personal experience. There have been different points in my life where I have, after doing work on myself that I found myself up until recently, and recently being the latter part mid last year up until the last part of the year. Um, I was um, even with all the self work that I've been doing, and the self awareness that I have in my life now, I was still making decisions very consciously. Some were unconscious, but because of my self-awareness, I was aware, and I was realizing that, hey, I'm still practicing some of the same old conditioned habitual habits that I have in the past. And then I sat down and I either meditated or I went inward and had a conversation with God, with source, with the universe, and was asking questions about what I was experiencing. And in that moment, I was um, saying in response, I am leaving myself open for the answers to come, and for me to acknowledge and recognize the answers to my own questions. And then the answers would come either in the form of a conversation with a friend, with a partner, with a family member, whatever the thing, or watching a video, the answers would come, and I would be aware, oh, this was the question I asked. And it would be somebody giving a message about something that I had been practicing. And it was like, it gave me a moment of pause to say, oh, so this is why this sort of stuff continues to happen. And this is why I continue to feel overwhelmed and burdened with making a decision about something that I want to do. And um, when I sought the support, I was then asked questions by individuals I had spoken to about what I was dealing with. And I was fortunate and blessed enough to be asked the right questions. I was asking myself, well, what if everything goes wrong? What if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And I was asked the questions, well, what if everything goes right?
Yeah. It's funny because you're talking about the nudges and the slaps on the head from the universe, which we haven't mentioned in about a week.
Mhm.
But I mean, they're real. You have to acknowledge them. Yeah, there's two things I wanted to say. One is I wanted to talk about soul alignment. We were in a class, we were in a master class yesterday with a teacher that we knew nothing about. We did a little bit of research, and we did a master class yesterday, and it was a fantastic master class. So I don't want to do it today because there's not enough time, but I'd like to talk about that maybe tomorrow or in the near future, just because it really impacted me.
Mhm.
And I was so glad to see that you were on there, and I'll tell that story too. But when you were talking before, I thought of something that was and it's in chapter 17 of the Having, when you were talking about the mud, and
Mhm.
my mind went to cookies. Now I haven't had a cookie for the whole time of January, but I'm hungry right now because I'm supposed to eat brunch as soon as I get off of this call. I didn't have breakfast, and so now I'm hungry. I wasn't hungry for breakfast, so I skipped it. So you're talking about mud, and I'm thinking cookies. But in chapter 17 of The Having, great book, by the way, it is by Su Yun Lee and Ju Yun Hong. So
Mhm.
the future is like cookie dough. Different possibilities exist in it. The energy we observe, perceive, and feel with our emotions is what shapes the dough. And when that completed dough is baked, it becomes reality in front of us. The shape in which the cookies are made and baked depends on your hands. And I would change the hands to they're talking about cookie dough. You can't think cookie dough into a cookie, but your reality is created by your thoughts and your emotions. And that's talking about. That's just a snippet of this chapter and the whole cookie dough story.
Mhm.
But it shows you just how entertaining a book can be, and yet have so much wisdom in it. Because your life is like cookie dough. So have a cookie.
Yes. Yes. And so when you have the support and you have the tools available to you, and you've been doing this for a while, I think that the greatest disservice that we can do to each other is to coddle and baby like you would do a child, to continue to, in essence, reinforce that behavior and not address it. And nothing has to be done negatively to make someone feel bad. But there comes a point, and this may not work for everybody. I will tell you that it worked for me. Coddling doesn't work. Feeling sorry for me did not work. Poor Andrea. Oh, you went through that? I'm so sorry that you went through that. Let me hold you. Let me hug you. Yes, I did want that. Yes, I did need that at certain aspects of my life. But there came a point where I had, to me, this was for me life changing, was the day that someone had enough courage, guts, and strength to look beyond what they thought that I would react to in a negative way. And they said, I hear you, Andrea. And now what? It was very direct. It was the tone. When you feel that same push or nudge from someone that really genuinely cares about you as a person and as a human who's trying to elevate to a higher level of their own, and is able to say to you, hey, I hear what you're going through. I understand. Now what? What are you willing to do to change what you've been going through up until now? Because the biggest part of life is that we can't sit and blame everything that's going on around us as the reason why we can't get to where we get. I did that. I did that for years. Well, it's because as a child I went through this. It's because these relationships, they made me think this way. It's because of that person, that thing, that experience. No, it's not. You have to decide, and you have to decide now that your life is more important if you just make a change. And I'm sorry, sometimes you got to give tough love. You have to let people know there is a change, but you've got to decide, because the alternative is just not getting your results. So get your butt up and just do what needs to get done. And let's stop complaining a little. Let's stop complaining, and let's give a little bit more time and energy to the things that we want to do. I don't know why I'm being, a little assertive
Well,
and a little forceful, but it's just because somebody loved me enough to say, hey, Andrea, yes, I know you've gone through some really crappy stuff in your life, but can you get off the pot already and make a change? It starts with you. It starts with you. Take the step, make the move, do the thing. That's all I
but
got to say.
yeah,
Back to you, Bill.
here's the thing, and then we'll end it because I think it's been about 20 minutes that we've been recording, and I know that the us humans were just too busy to watch more than 15, 20 minutes, you know. But you're right, and I mean you're really right. If somebody is always agreeing with you and going along with your story, and your story is a negative story, they are not supporting you. They are enabling you and
That's
allowing
what I'm
you to create the negative story. And you know what else? They're helping you create your own. They're helping you as the so-called supporter now live in a negative vibration as well. So it's true. You gotta stop it. You gotta. I posted something this morning about your why. The why, when you're doing something, your why is the most important thing of it's the most important thing to consider when you're trying to figure out why you want to do something. It's,
Mhm.
and don't just say, I want it for this. Start to ask, why do you want that? And then why do you want that? And then finally you'll run out of whys, and you'll probably come to the real reason you want it. If you're honest, most people, like that, that's generalization. There are lots of people, that's generalization. There are people that are not honest with their why. And
Right.
and and, uh, and um, here's another thing. If a coach or a teacher Why are we being so forceful today? If a coach, if a coach or a teacher tells you to do something, I mean, literally tells you to do it, they are not supporting you. They are telling you to do something because of their perspective and because it probably worked for them. A good coach and a good teacher gives you tools. A good coach and teacher gives you support. A good coach and teacher is there to guide you, but you don't do it because they told you to. Here's a good example. You have to have a script. You have to write a life story. No, you don't. It's nice. I love it. I love the scripts. I love the life stories. I think everybody should do one. I really do. But if you're writing the life story because I tell you to do it, you're doing it for the wrong reason. You're doing the
Right.
life story because of you, because of how it is for you, because you love yourself, because you want what's best for yourself. You're not doing it because I told you to do it. So if you're doing it because somebody told you to do it, you're not getting anywhere. You're not.
Very true. You're
So,
true. So just do it for yourself.
yeah. So
Is
join us
is
on our imagination tour on the 25th of January at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to talk about self love. And that is what we were talking about right there, self love. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about gratitude. And I got a brand new song for our little Mind movie video that I heard yesterday for the first time. I'm probably the only one on the planet that had never heard it before, but I loved it, and I attached it. I
that was the
attached it
second one.
to the Mind movie now. And I think you'll love it. So
Yes. And so listen, I know that today was things were a little muddy and a little sticky. And I'm not going to apologize for being a little forceful today. Um, because I really believe in humanity. And I believe that when we make the decision and we make the choice to do better for ourselves and stop repeating the same old mantras, that we can really begin to elevate our own minds, our bodies, and everything that comes with it. And so, for anyone that has gotten something valuable out of this conversation that Bill and I have had today, please comment, share, subscribe. We are trying to expand our community, grow our community, and expand our reach. We appreciate and are very grateful for the support that you're giving. And if you know of someone that could use this message, share it with them.
yeah.
And
Just,
that's all I got for today.
just don't comment what kind of cookies you like, because that'll just make me hungry again. You know. But the truth is, coaches and I would like to believe, and in fact I do believe, I choose to believe, we support people.
Mhm.
We don't coddle you. We don't necessarily just say things so that you'll go along with us and think that we're good coaches. We repeat a lot of stuff that other people repeat
Mhm.
because we believe in it. But we'll tell you. Uh, we'll tell you if we think that you're speak talking negative, and we'll try to do it in the most tactful and niceful, non-judgmental way,
Mhm.
because it sounds like we're judging you, but we're not. We're looking at it from our perspective, and we're trying to give you a thought or an idea on how you could do it a different way that will help you transform your life. And she's an author and transformational life coach. That's a big word. Oh yeah, and speaker. So, all right, that's it. So,
Well, I hope you guys have an amazing and incredible Thursday. And until next time,
yeah,
toodaloo,
I think
darlings.
I say sayonara. Adios.
Bye.